Absolutely, we have a housing crisis. There's no question about it.
I don't think there's a housing crisis. There's nobody sleeping out in the streets. You've got a few activists that claim they had to.
I get angry when I hear people saying that we don't have a housing problem or a housing crisis.
I don't know if I would call it a crisis. I would say there's a very serious problem as far as housing is concerned, primarily on affordability side.
This is the worst vacancy rate that we've ever had in Canada's history, in fact, not only just in Vancouver.
Well, it's raining money from heaven. It's a real estate jamboree. 5 will get you, 10 will get you $1 million. I can retire when I hit 33. Well, it's a real need having an expense account. The Lincoln is a write-off too. Every little day, in every little way. We're not getting older, we're getting richer.
There are, what, 400,000 odd people living in Vancouver. And I see it as the 400,000 places as really being prizes in a most gorgeous, beautiful lotus land setting. And the 400,000 people who are here at the moment are very fortunate. They are the prize winners. So the first fundamental question is, who should get the prizes? And on what basis should we choose the 400,000 lottery victors?
Sometimes I feel frightened, but a lot of the time I just feel angry. Angry that we can't live in these homes, that there has to be people put out on the streets when there's a housing shortage, when there isn't an awful lot of rental stock out there, and the rental class is growing. And people are being put out in the street with nowhere to go. Do we have to leave our communities that we have established?
Why Vancouver? Well, on a sunny day, there's probably no place like it on Earth. And it's always going to be expensive. I don't think any city has experienced the rapid increase in values that we have over the past year or two. We have been singled out. We have been acknowledged as being the place to live in Canada. Expensive, yes. Everybody is bitching like hell, especially people who are coming into Vancouver or BC. Those who can't handle Vancouver may relocate elsewhere. But they all want to get here. Good morning, Dave Goodman. 35% down, and we'll leave him some area where he may want to negotiate, but they are talking all cash, which would be very useful in today's market. I noticed the move in September. In September 1980, people who never considered making an investment in real estate other than their home were now buying a second home to flip. You put a house on the market, bang, it was gone. Move the same house up across the street, $15,000, bang, it was gone. I was astonished at the move. Bluntly, unless there's very substantial input from the public sector, namely the provincial and federal government, I think I can say that Vancouver is going to be a city for those who have the money. Okay, onwards and upwards.
I don't think there's a housing crisis. There's nobody sleeping out in the streets. You've got a few activists that claim they had to. I can't accept that we must run our country so that we provide the most desirable housing right downtown in the core for people of relatively low incomes. I mean, do we really want to do that? Do we really want to subsidize people's lives to that extent? You know, we don't even know where the poverty line is. You know, people are living in unsatisfactory housing. Who says it's unsatisfactory? Go to China or go to Africa if you want to see what unsatisfactory housing is, and set your standards there.
I've heard people say, well, this is better here than it is in India and China and all over the world, forgetting that all over the world they had to face massive destruction by war. They are poverty-stricken, etc., whereas in this country there are 24 or 5 million people. There are ample raw resources, there is ample money, and there are ample skilled people, and simply because we will not assess our priorities correctly, we find ourselves in a position where people are not adequately housed. I think most people recognize that.
There are hundreds and hundreds of tenants in the city of Vancouver who can't afford the rent increases that are taking place and are having to take away from food and other essentials. And we're not getting any action. We're not getting anything but a bunch of words and conferences, no major bold initiatives from the federal or provincial governments.
Good afternoon, Cabinet Office. Okay, I'll refer you to Mr. Chabot's secretary. Just a moment.
I don't consider myself to be inaccessible. I'm a public figure, and I'm readily available. I'm available. All I have to do is phone my office. They might not be able to meet me on the day they specifically want to meet me, but I'm available. I don't know if I would call it a crisis. I would say there's a very serious problem as far as housing is concerned, primarily on affordability side. We're not alone in the responsibility and ability to make affordable housing available in Vancouver. You have the city of Vancouver that has a role to play as well.
Affordable housing is not a priority.
For whom?
For the provincial government. They have a naive belief that the private market can provide affordable housing for the bottom 25, in some cases 50% of the housing market. That's just a pipe dream.
I am another person that agrees with not everybody will be able to afford a home in the future. And the more affluent people can still buy housing. And I think you'll find British Columbia will always stay, especially the coast, ahead of the rest of Canada. And it should, because it's nicer.
Well, it's raining money from heaven. It's a real estate jamboree. Every little day, in every little way. We're not getting older, we're getting richer. It's the guys with the money, the friends and the brains who are gonna be the big winners in the real estate. Absolutely fantastic! Robert's Monopoly. Yeah. Bye-bye. Sell, sell.
The head of our company, Alfred Reichman of Olympia, New York, who have equity assets of $8 billion out of Toronto. They feel that there are excellent buying opportunities in this type of market, and this is when they make their money, when everybody else is running for the sidelines.
And the problem right now is that we have a government which is on the other side, a government which supports housing as a commodity and has left it in the hands of the private marketplace. It is the very large developers with the very large dollars who now have control of housing in Vancouver and in many other major cities across North America. And their only interest, of course, is profit. And where they gain the most profits from is the executive type housing and office buildings. And they will take over as much land as they can to make as much profit as they can. And that's what has to be combated, profit-making anarchy.
Well, our whole society is and has been based on a meritocracy which is measured in a falling commodity, the Canadian dollar. Money.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Free Enterprise TV proudly presents The Inside Track. And he is your host, Chuck Jim Bob Jr.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Inside Track. Tonight's category is real estate, and our guest expert is Marlene Block.
Hi, Free Enterprisers.
She wrote the book on real estate. And what better players for the real estate game than a landlord and a tenant? Yes, folks, the charming people you're about to meet have been landlord and tenant for 5 years now. Come on, folks, and help me welcome a dental hygienist and a mother of one, the lovely Janet McKenzie. And tonight, Janet is pitted against her landlord, Mr. Arnie Skinner. Hi. All right, if everybody's ready, let's find out what Janet and Arnie are playing for. Hey, Jay, what's tonight's big prize?
Okay, Chuck. Tonight's big prize is Janet's lovely apartment on West 8th Avenue. Janet, if you win tonight's big race, you can stay in the apartment for as long as you like with a low fixed rent and a hassle-free landlord. Arnie, if you win, you are free to develop the property with absolutely no moral scruples.
All right, let's play the game. Each contestant is allowed a chance at 3 enterprising questions, but either player can stop the game at any time if they feel they're on the inside track. Good luck to both of you. Let's play the game. Question number 1. Thanks, Marley. Janet McKenzie, if you woke up one morning and found yourself the owner of a house, what would you do? Think carefully now. You got 6 seconds.
Oh, well, that's easy. I'd move into it with my son, Jimmy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Janet. That answer's off the track. The question goes to Arnie. Arnie Skinner, you do own a house. What would you like to do with it? Take your time now, Arnie, and trust your instincts.
Okay. Oh, thank you. I'd like to sell that house for as much money as I could get and take that money and buy another house.
A correct answer and $1,000 to Arnie Skinner! All right, now, Janet, since Arnie's taken the lead, you're allowed a clue before you answer the next question. Let's hear that clue, Jay.
All right, Chuck. Janet, the clue to get you on the inside track has to do with a fundamental moral principle in our society.
Moral principle, eh? Sounds tricky. Question number 2. Thanks, Marley. Janet McKenzie, you have just come into a very large sum of money. What are you going to do with it? Think carefully now and remember that clue.
All right. Fundamental moral principle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd give half my money to charity and keep the rest for my son Jimmy's education.
Oh, I'm sorry, Janet. Arnie Skinner, you have just come into a very large sum of money. What are you gonna do with it?
Okay, I'm gonna take that money and I'm gonna buy a house. I'm gonna hold on to that house for say 4 months. Watch the price go up, sell it, and make a $20,000 profit.
And another $1,000 to Arnie Skinner!
What's moral about that?
Question number 3.
I got it! I'm on the inside track!
Right, Arnie Skinner, you have accumulated a $2,000 purse. But can you tell us why, Arnie? For that big prize now, the house on 8th Avenue, what is the inside track?
Okay, Chuck Jim Bob, the inside track. The inside track is making money.
And Arnie Skinner takes the big prize!
All right!
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, making money is the inside track in the real estate game. Buying, selling, speculating, the agony of investing in a madcap market, the ecstasy of watching it pay off every time. Hey, Arnie, the option to develop Janet's apartment is yours. What are you going to do with it?
This, Chuck Jim Bob. Janet, I'm giving you your eviction notice. What? Yeah, I'm gonna tear down that house and build expensive condominiums.
All right, Skinner, you're on the inside track and off to the races. Well, that's all the time we have for tonight, folks. See you all next week. Until then, keep smiling, keep winning, and keep on the inside track. Remember, I love you all individually.
Small enough room But I would have stayed in it as far as I'm concerned. I had to leave this room here because they're going to kick us out first of the month. My abode, I lived here for around 12 years in this place. Yeah. It was one of them things was that I'd been here, and I figured maybe I'd been here for the rest of my life.
To the businessman who's developing that property, it may be success and money and progress to him, but the people that he is displacing because of it is a totally negative development for them because it's putting them out of a home. And basically, I mean, that's the bottom line. I'm sure if the guy or the company that is developing that property, if they were turfed out of their homes, they would also put up a fight, and there's no way that they would stand for their home being wrecked.
That it's so blown out of proportion, for the money that it costs for one of these units. I mean, a person has to be out of their mind to begin with, okay? Really out of their mind to even subject themselves to this type of, you know, insane buying, you know. What this is, it's the condominiums, okay? And they're roughly going anywhere between 175,000 to about maybe 250,000.
No possible way myself and my wife, combined salaries, could afford a unit like this. A working couple would have to be making somewhere in the region of $90,000 a year combined, just to get off the ground, just to get into a place like this, or close to it, or have a credit rating that, you know, they had the Bank of Canada behind them as a co-signing. So, I don't know. The feeling amongst a lot of people that I've talked to is it's just, you know, where is it going to stop? They're at a loss. They're in a vortex. They don't know which way to go. You know, whether to strike and yell for higher wages or just leave, period.
Guys, busy this month then?
Not bad.
And I'm tired of moving. I feel like a yo-yo as I get fired around the scenery from pillar to post at the whim of a developer, simply because I can't afford to go and buy a home. I'm a teacher, so I'm paid on a yearly basis, and I guess I make about $30,000 a year. But I can't even save enough now for a down payment. This is the second time I have been bounced for renovations in Kitsilano, and I'm tired of moving.
Yeah, I'm a zoologist, just finishing a PhD at UBC, and we're moving to Brandon. If our loading this truck is any indication, we have on an average 4 or 5 people stop a day to ask, oh, are you moving? Is your apartment for rent? Or is your place for rent? It's just people are taking to cruising the streets, trying to find somebody moving out and the chance that they can get the apartment before somebody else does.
It's very depressing when you look at the situation in that no matter whether you're making good salaries or not, you're faced with the possibility of never owning a home, ever, in your entire life living in Vancouver.
We have a chance to settle down and own something, you know, a bit of security. In Vancouver, it's impossible.
Rentalisman's office, hold the line, please. Rentalisman's office, hold the line, please. Rentalisman's office. Line's busy, would you hold, sir? Rentalisman's office, please hold. Rentalisman's office. Rentalisman's office.
This is the worst vacancy rate that we've ever had in Canada's history, in fact, not only just in Vancouver.
Rentalisman's office, hold the line, please. Sorry, no answer. Do you want to leave word or call back, please?
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, then he'd only be open to raising the rent 10%. What I would do is I'd bring that letter into our office to file a complaint against him, okay?
He wants $300 at the end of this next month.
How much were you paying before? How much of a rent increase are you having?
Well, I'm paying $241 an hour. $241 now, and that 10% would bring that out to $265. I was willing to give him the stretcher point and give him $275, but he wouldn't buy it. Well, I said, you'd have to give me a little bit of time to worry about that, too, because both me and the wife are pensioners, and I said, we only make about $500 a month altogether.
1 moment, please. Middleton's office, hold the line, please. Switchboard.
Oh, I'm a landlord. With the mortgage rates the way they are, you have to keep up. There's no other solution but to raise your rent. And then with the rent freeze, you're sort of caught in between. So what you have to do is you have to go in and make, in most cases, major renovations so that the rent that you do charge will, you know, will be justified. So it's just a matter of getting the tenants out if they can't afford the new rent that you're going to charge.
People are being squeezed out of their home. Absolutely correct. I have made the government well aware of what is going on. The government says do not reduce profits. The only way of resolving that problem and keeping prices low is you throw a couple 100,000 people out of the province.
Yes?
I'd like to see the suite advertised in the paper.
Are you alone?
Oh, yes.
Married?
I'm separated.
Children?
I have one.
Sorry, no kids.
What do you mean, no kids?
Like I said, we're adult-oriented. We don't want children that make a mess of the place, right on the walls, you name it.
Oh, but my boy wouldn't do that.
Sorry, lady, that's the way it is.
The people who are most difficult to place are the people with families. We can actually help very few of the people who come here because of the simple fact that there is nowhere for people to go. And at this office alone, we receive about 800 new applications every month for people, from people looking for housing. And over half of those are people who have absolutely nowhere to live at the time when they come to this office.
Yes, frankly, it scares me. I think it scares everybody else. You like the idea of living out on the street and going without food?
All of a sudden I'm out with nowhere to go. I've got a 15-year-old daughter and...
Okay, so you're moving because of a rent increase, basically.
Yes.
The guy said, well, I'll drive you to where you live. He says, like it sounded promising to get the place to rent. Then he turned around and he says, you go out.
Can I take a look at the place?
Any boyfriends?
Pardon me?
I was wondering maybe you were looking for a friend, you know. I like to be a friendly landlord.
I'm not interested, thank you very much.
Stupid broad.
There is nowhere for people to go. We don't even receive a quarter of the number of vacancies that we need. So everybody else is left doubling up with family and friends or in hotels or motels or any other type of emergency shelter that they can get. And a lot of people have been in these emergency shelters for months.
The hotel's about a 12 by 12 room with a bed, with a hot plate and a fridge. And to even think of having a child in a hotel like that with drunks and everything running around would be impossible.
And when you're on welfare, you know, you get 500, whatever, with, you know, 2 kids, right? And by the time you pay your rent, your utilities and everything, I've got like $100 to $50 left for food.
Are you aware that people on welfare are having to cut into their food budgets at this point to enable themselves to pay the required rent?
Well, that's
It's entirely possible, yes. Maybe the allowance isn't sufficient to meet rental accommodation, but I would suggest to you that they're not alone. They're not alone. That there are other people too, that besides people on social welfare that have difficulty with accommodation. And it does eat into their food budget too.
And as Minister of Housing, do you see it as your responsibility to alleviate that situation?
No, the distribution of income is a federal responsibility.
As federal housing minister, isn't it your responsibility to help stop housing prices from rising beyond the reach of Canadian families?
No, I don't assume that responsibility. Provinces have prime responsibility in housing under the Constitution as it's now framed. I understand that the province of British Columbia has been sitting on a housing policy now for the last couple of years, and I would hope that the provincial government will assume responsibility towards the people in the lower and middle income areas as well, but no, I don't see that as the major responsibility.
They call it democracy, but what is democracy when they're chasing all us old pensioners, especially when we fought for the country? I'd go to jail if they kicked me out of here. Let the government keep me in the jail, because them criminals, they're damn sight better off in jail than what us old pensioners are. You bet your life.
Sorry, it's gone.
Sorry, gone.
Sorry, it's gone. Sorry, it's gone.
Sorry, gone. $3.60 a month.
I'll take it. Where am I, anyway?
An hour and a half to work.
And an hour and a half back.
Ah, great.
Today, there are more voters who rent than there are voters who don't rent. They're going to insist that our governments implement certain changes in the way we think about housing. Is it a right? Is it a privilege? What is housing today?
What you want is something basic, but the way it's turned out in our society is that basic thing is considered a privilege to have. And people say that it's a privilege now. They tell you that it's a privilege to have a place to live. We tried to buy Milton Court before as a co-op 3 years ago, and we were outbought by a developer. And when that purchase took place, we realized that it was only a matter of time when we would be evicted. So we formed quite a strong tenants group. I think it's usually when you're desperate that you start taking action. I mean, you realize there isn't many other choices, and there isn't many other choices at this point. People in Mountain Court have realized if they wanted to go out and find an apartment, first of all, they couldn't find one in our area. It would be very difficult. And secondly, they'd be paying, if they did happen to find one, they'd be paying at least 3 times the rent they'd be paying here. So when it gets down to those statistics, it seems like people are much more willing to take a chance and take a risk and try to do something about this building. We may lose this building, but maybe the next building would be saved. So someone's got to take a stand somewhere along the line.
It is a black and white issue, and people have to decide which side of the fence they're on this issue. And it is time for strong words, and it is time for strong action. Wishy-washiness is not going to get us anywhere. We've tried it for 2 years. We've tried it.
Okay. Could we just have that at all levels of government?
All levels of elected governments
Elected.
should be accountable to the citizens.
The Housing Rights Coalition is a group of 25 community groups. We joined together because in numbers there's political power. What we all have in common is that we provide a voice for people who would otherwise have no voice.
There are people in the city who make you want to weep. Mothers in motels, rooms of disease.
Misinformation about supply and demand. Misinformation about profits to be had. One person wins, 10 people lose.
Feels like someone is breaking the law. If no law's being broken, then the law must be changed. If the lawmakers won't change it, then
Change the lawmakers.
Blow the whistle on them.
Change the government.
There must be close working relations between all the groups
to get there. Otherwise, don't let's go splintered, or don't let anybody
That's
splinter
why we're
us.
here.
That's it, good. Now, the next point is, we decide now on the date of the next meeting. Senior citizens in PC, there's about 300,000 of them. And if they unite, they got quite a lot of political clout. The senior citizens on fixed incomes, their pensions, how are they going to cope? No way at all can they do it. So, whilst I'm a believer in private enterprise and getting the private enterprise to do the job as a rule, there are times when private enterprise will not do it. So I've suggested all along now for 2-3 months that we all get together, all the interested groups get together, go as one delegation to City Council and, well, bore them to death if you like, but anyway, see if we can get what we want.
Telephone calls at their home.
At midnight.
Whatever. Telephone calls, I find them best method, because letters they look at and throw in the round file. But a telephone call, they gotta talk to you.
I don't anticipate that we will win the first round.
We might.
We may.
And get mad about it. Don't be gentle, don't be polite, it won't get you anywhere. Everybody hates me for that, but that's the way I work. If enough of us show up, we'll win it.
Okay, now assume that we don't win it. Then we want to be prepared on our next move. And that's another delegation to City Hall again.
Approach it from all angles toward the one end. We want more affordable housing, period.
Talk to your neighbors, question your friends. Talk on the telephone, find out who's in charge. Answers come slowly and you gotta ask hard.
Use your voice, your feet, and your brains.
Fight for the truth. You got to organize. Cooperate. Beat down the lies.
Talk.
Dream.
Plan.
Scheme.
Basically, I feel the public just needs to be educated a bit more. And when you feel you have the strength of the rest of the public, you start taking action. And it's acceptable. It's not a, communistic plot. It's not some radical, destructive force that's acting here. It's an acceptable process that's starting to get some action.
Hi, Mary. Did you hear about the council meeting last night? Yeah, and we have to move pretty quickly.
Alderman Kennedy,
You should consider resigning.
Alderman Kennedy, you're becoming more and more foolish as you go on.
It's a political matter. The city will be screwed up by you fellas.
You shut up and keep quiet. You poor, insignificant slob. You can't make a living. This is a living to you. But it's an attempt to deal with the question of a real crying need in this city. Now, if I feel strongly about that, and others can as well.
It's your right to go before them, but you don't feel that it is. You don't get taught that. The government makes you feel like you're imposing upon them by asking them for help or helping the citizens. But that's their job. I mean, that's what they're there for. That's what government is there for. They make you feel like that they're not there to help you, that they're there for their own reasons.
Melton Court has become a symbolic cornerstone of the housing movement in Vancouver. Today, at this meeting, we are asking you for a firm commitment to save this important building.
My name is Colin, and I'm speaking for Save Our Homes organization in support of Melton Court's petition. Okay, we call ourselves SOHO, the Save Our Homes organization, fighting to preserve affordable rental housing in Vancouver. We presently consist of 5 buildings. Melton Court at 2320 Cornwall, Capistrano at 1924 Comox, Beecher House at 1860 Robson, Dolphin Court at 2350 West 39th, and Richborough Apartments at 1840 Robson. All of our homes are facing demolition, to be replaced by expensive luxury units which the majority of us will not be able to afford. What are you going to do to stop this indiscriminate demolition of rental accommodation in the city? Yesterday, you okayed a development permit for Capistrano. I consider this nothing less than criminal negligence on your part.
There are people who are living in fear of the future. Many of them have helped to build this lovely city of ours, who have lived and worked in the city for a lifetime. All levels of government have neglected to address themselves to the increasing demand for accommodation. And now we have a crisis of serious proportions.
I can foresee the situation arising in Vancouver where people are going to say, yes, we'll pay our rent. We are good citizens. We are not moving out of this good accommodation so that somebody can tear it down and build something that we can't afford to get into.
No, I'm not going to be next. We intend to stay. This house right here is our home. Our termination notice was up on the 1st of October, so we are now illegal tenants, refusing to go, staying in housing that we really legally don't have a right to, but morally, I believe we do. It's an important issue, you know. We are families, and we've lived in the community, a lot of us, for 10 years, and our community is coming down around us. We have to make a stand. We've had 3 different developers that we know of during the past 2 years. During that time, we have lived through illegal notices to terminate tenancy. We have lived through them coming in with their crews and boarding up the homes that we're living in while we're living in them, which is illegal. Of course, we had City Hall come in and have them take that down. We have lived through them coming in and smashing empty suites so that they would not be livable. Time is running out, but we don't intend to lose the battle or the war. We don't intend to give up.
Unless something is done about it and done very quickly, you're going to have violence. Because where are people going? What are they going to do? They've got to live somewhere.
What's happening here in Vancouver is something that is happening in other cities. This is an international problem.
Onze kracht is ons aantal en onze argumenten en solidariteit met elkaar. En dan win je het ook van kogels. Ik ben er dus ook niet zo ontzettend bang voor.
Pas, als ze die oorzaken, als ze daar wat aan gaan doen, want ze hebben het over schieten, maar laat ze eens aan een ander alternatief denken. En dat is inderdaad meer bouwen.
Zijn er ook veel oudere mensen die kraken in Amsterdam?
Ja, wat dacht u dan? Kijk eens, je kan het kraken noemen, je kan het bezetten noemen, maar je wilt toch leven? Daar hebben we toch recht op?
Je wilt wonen?
Ja, leven en wonen. Maar als u nou vraagt, in de buurt op de nieuwe woning, hoe vind je je woning? Zeggen ze allemaal prachtig, prachtig. Alleen ik sterf van de honger, want ik kan het niet meer opbrengen. Dat is het antwoord nu. Het is toch te gek.
How close do you think Vancouver is to that?
That's a very good example to bring up, because until you have riots in the streets, you sure don't have a crisis. And you know, I just think we're miles from that.
Good evening. Hundreds of homeowners, upset over high interest rates, converged on Parliament Hill today.
When the buses arrived on Parliament Hill, they were met by opposition politicians, but there was no one there from the Trudeau government. The demonstrators went ahead and told their stories anyway.
I'm sick of an economic policy that tells me that after 5 years of blood and sweat and tears that I can't have my home anymore. I want to know why. Why can't I have my home?
Later, a small group was allowed to meet Housing Minister Paul Cosgrove.
We're the people you're working for. We put you in office, and believe me, we can take you out.
The government will meet its commitment in the speech from the throne when we started out as a Liberal government last year that we will not stand by and see large-scale foreclosure of people's homes in this country.
Mike Duffy, CBC News, Ottawa.
I think it's undemocratic. I think it's unfair. I think it's a misuse of the power of this council.
Alderman Davinsky, even your friends up in Shaughnessy are hollering at you. Please, Mr. Davinsky, vote for the motion. We want demolition control. For a different reason, of course. They want to save their beautiful buildings up there. But the fact is they want demolition control of some sort.
Basically, what it gets down to the right to own private property. And inherent in that right is the right that I, as an owner, have to demolish that building on that property if I so wish.
The motion does not prohibit demolition. It doesn't infringe on anybody's democratic rights.
Don't tell me about rights of somebody that they have that, you know, I'm talking about, and I'm sympathetic to these people that come up and say, look, I have been evicted, but unfortunately under our rights of private property and proper eviction notices have been given, and that right is there. You know, otherwise we're going to defeat the whole private enterprise system.
The free enterprise system is a great thing. I'm all for it. As a matter of fact, I've said, well, a lot of us are free enterprises. I'm one. But you know, you've got to have some degree of humanitarianism in you to talk about affordable housing. My God, there's no such thing as affordable housing.
We want this amendment to go to a public hearing.
There's no sense forcing our tenants out to Surrey or Richmond where they also have zero vacancy rates and creating more misery out there. You're just moving the problem around. We have before us Alderman Erickson's substituted motion. Those in favor of the motion? All in favor?
No, that's nothing wrong with that.
Contrary? It carries with Alderman Kennedy, Puel, Davinsky, Brown, and Ford opposed.
Okay, so we've taken on City Hall. We've got one small step. We'll get a bigger one yet. Our next aim is provincial government. And that's the big nut we got to crack.
Housing for people, not for profit. Housing for people, not for profit. Housing for people, not for profit.
It is no longer just the poor that are getting homeless. It is now going up the list. There are massive allies. We must find them, and we've got to organize to do this job. This is the major job of this century.
Housing for people, not for profit. Housing for people.
People's homes are very precious to them, especially when you're a senior and you've worked in this country for a long while. You have a right to some security, surely.
The almighty dollar is not that sacred these days.
We have to fight. We have to fight for our rights. Nobody else is going to do it for us. We have to do it ourselves.
next time you see my mother.
Yeah?
Don't tell her I'm in real estate.
Why not?
She thinks I'm still selling heroin to school children.
We want more affordable housing, period.